This video is going to be a film study / commentary look at what Patrick Queen was able to accomplish with the Ravens. If today's Pro Bowl is, in fact, the last time that he'll represent the Baltimore Ravens in any capacity. He earned a second-team All-Pro designation this year, along with his first Pro Bowl. Truly was his best season in Baltimore. There can be no doubt about that. 133 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 interception, 6 passes defensed. Played a lot of man coverage to the boundary as the will linebacker into that small space, but I think he showed the talent that caused the Ravens to draft him 28th overall in the 2020 NFL Draft, even though he was a 20, 21-year-old kid. The beginning of his career here, while statistically significant because of splash plays that he made, particularly early in that year, his rookie year, was nonetheless inconsistent. He was a 21-year-old rookie trying to start for a team that expected to challenge for a Super Bowl in 2020. Additionally, what he had been prepared for, I think, at LSU in terms of how they were able to athletically overwhelm people, did not prepare him for what we were going to see against some of the better teams in the NFL. He made splash plays that year, like I said, against Washington, Cleveland, the Bengals. He had a fumble return for a touchdown, if you don't recall. He also finished with 3 sacks and 1 interception. Played about 55 to 60 snaps a game for most of that year. By the end of his rookie year, however, his snaps had dwindled in certain situations. He was pulled off the field on passing downs, or he was just used as a consistent blitzer to allow others to play in coverage. I'm going to let a little bit of film show here from his rookie season just to kind of illustrate some of the points that I'm talking about. And then we'll move through how he improved on certain techniques or how he was put in better positions, perhaps, by his coaches as his career progressed here. I think the lack of any zone coverage drops by Wink Martindale curtailed his development early in his rookie year. Basically, the coverage expectations were so limited that he was never expanded on that usage of either playing man or blitzing, or just being flat out taken off the field in favor of Chuck Clark as a dime linebacker or L.J. Fort, a smart and veteran inside linebacker that the Ravens have brought back a second time. Queen was selected in the first round and then ended up in 2020 and even parts of 2021 having trouble beating out guys who've been drafted after him. Somewhat similar to what we're seeing now with Odafe Oweh. Although the 4 players that have played in front of him in 2022 and 2023, Houston, JPP, Clowney, and Van Noy, they're much older and weren't taken in that draft or the draft thereafter. By week 6 of 2021, it was quite clear to observers that Queen was in competition with guys like Malik Harrison and even Chris Board for getting on the field consistently. His snaps in week 16 of that year, his second year, fell to 19 against the Chargers. The Ravens were trying to figure out who to give snaps to, what downs to play these guys on, Queen, Harrison, and Chris Board. And in the middle of all that, in week 6 that year, Josh Bond shows up and plays a brilliant football game. 2 weeks later, by week 8 of 2021, a home win against the Vikings, Patrick Queen is hardly even on the field for certain possessions. At that point, he's a 22-year-old first-round pick at inside linebacker in his second year. And there was 2 complete possessions where he's not on the field at all, and the Ravens are getting stops at that time. Many fans ready to give up on him, and in fact, on social media, a lot of people did. Nonetheless, Queen, by the end of the year, I thought closed out 2021 in a much more technical and sound manner. Look, there was still moments of poor coverage, okay? Late in 2021, I'm thinking of an out and up that Boyd beats him on out of empty. But in my opinion, much of that had to do with poor scheme choices by Wink Martindale. Simply put, Wink didn't spend much time at all teaching and installing zone or split field coverages in training camp. And then when injuries befell our starting corners, all he had available was the limited coverage options that had been installed to that point. To me, the situation that Patrick Queen came into looked good, a team that in 2019 had just rolled to a 14-2 record and had Super Bowl aspirations in 2020, a very weird and unusual season for obvious reasons. I don't think the situation actually helped him at all. It's more about just player talent from Patrick Queen's standpoint and the talent of the players surrounding him. There is this, at this point in time, even last year when his fifth-year option was declined, there is this point that appears to follow Patrick Queen, whereby he only played well when Roquan Smith showed up. And that is absolutely false. Like I said, I think at the end of 2023, things were improving in certain techniques in certain areas. In others, we were still having trouble. Here's two particular coverage situations to the boundary where he's being stressed by the formation and has two routes to possibly deal with, the tight end and or the running back. Aaron Rodgers is a guy who's going to make quick decisions, and to the boundary, if he feels like you're outflanked, he's going to throw the football and get a quick gain, keep the ball moving. My point in showing some of these plays from 2021 is Queen's career almost follows the same path in 2021 and 2022. The same pattern, I should say. Perhaps a slow start, but then finishes quickly. In 2022, he finished with 5 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, and he never played less than 80% of the team's snaps in a particular game. That was even before Roquan Smith showed up. Why do I bring that up? They had made up their mind to play him. There was no, well, Malik Harrison, was dealing with other issues as well. Chris Board was gone. It's important to me to stress, I think Patrick Queen was already improving and playing at a higher level before Roquan Smith showed up. And I'm going to prove that here with a little bit of statistics. I think other people have commented on that as well at this point. It's a misnomer or a mischaracterization, if you ask me. Weeks 1 through 8, before Roquan shows up in 2022. Well, week 8, let's just do it that way. The week before Roquan shows up, week 7 actually, against the Browns. 11 tackles, 1 sack in our home 23-20 win. Of course, that Browns team included Jadeveon Clowney at the time. In the 3 previous games before Roquan showed up, which he showed up in week 9 against the Saints, in the 3 previous games, Patrick Queen, 25 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble in the 3 weeks prior to Roquan arriving. Look, does Roquan Smith make him better? Of course. You improve by playing next to a great talent and a great leader like Roquan. Queen and him are a dynamic duo. For real, I wish they could play side by side for years to come. Who knows if that's going to happen? It certainly looks like it's not. One thing to note, and I have talked about this in other videos, and I've actually shown some of these plays I'm going to illustrate. One thing to note about Queen is his unselfishness. Spectacular athlete, very dynamic, can do many things. His unselfishness shows up during the play with what he does and after the play with how much he celebrates for his teammates when they're involved with making a play. And I think those things are important, to be honest with you. I think they may be undercovered by most people, myself included. But watching a player celebrate after the snap when a teammate makes a play, I think is an important thing. Not only that, his ability to take on blocks. And this is why I'm showing some stuff. This is 2022 film. I actually did a video on these plays in the offseason before 2023, talking about how committed he is to the task, how committed he is to his responsibility, which in football terms, your responsibility is your job on each play. Even if that means that you won't get statistical designation for anything that you do. I think Patrick Queen went from, as a rookie, 2022, when he was a super talented inside linebacker with great speed, great potential, some inconsistencies. By 2022, even before Roquan shows up, some of these plays are, by the way, to a very smart, tough guy who's willing to do the dirty work and retains his quickness and tremendous burst. And this is where, for me, the video was going to take on a little bit different track than maybe some of you were expecting. Patrick Queen's story here in Baltimore, if it indeed is over, which it very well may be, is one I think we can all learn from, myself included. Because as fans, and again, I'm including myself in this, and look, some people aren't going to like this here. We judge too quickly. We judge too quickly on certain players, and we're doing it now with other players that are in our system, and we put them in a box and say that this is who they are, and they're never going to grow out of that or expand upon that level of capability. If you look at Patrick Queen film from 2020 and you compare it to 2022 and 2023, it's vastly different. But it is a mischaracterization, and it's unfair to say that it's all because Roquan Smith and Mike McDonald showed up. In any case, look, in 5 weeks, we'll know something. I guess it's about 5 weeks. From February 20th through the first week in March, we can designate franchise players. Of course, he's not going to be one of those, but other players may, Justin Madubuike. And then from March 11th to the 13th, I think there's a 2-day period when free agents can negotiate with teams, but they can't sign till the business day, 4 p.m., Wednesday, March 13th, if I have my date correct. So he very well may be gone as of 4:05 p.m., March 13th. So I wanted to do a video to, A, show respect for what he was able to accomplish here, B, call myself and all of us out for being too judgmental, too quick. Even hardcore fans and people like myself, we try to analyze the game and watch film. Look, we have to judge the film. We have to judge what's there. And at times in 2020, he showed weaknesses that our coaches saw. It's what caused our coaches to take him off the field in favor of guys like L.J. Fort, Malik Harrison, and Chris Board. But what we ended up with in the end was something pretty spectacular. And I think that players evolve, and sometimes in some cases they evolve quickly. Maybe for most of us, we would say Patrick Queen improved or evolved slower than we would have liked. It was not just due to Roquan Smith showing up in Week 9 of 2022. I think even if Roquan Smith doesn't show up in 2022, Patrick Queen's film is going to look like what we're seeing here. Now, when there's superior talent around you, Jadeveon Clowney, Kyle Van Noy being added to the mix, Kyle Hamilton in his second year, the defense got better. Absolutely. But to misapply his improvement and say it was only because of Roquan Smith, that's unfortunate. And I think we should try to avoid it as fans. Part of it is understandable. We want our teams to succeed so badly at times that we turn on the players wearing our own favorite team's uniform because we want to win, and it didn't happen as quickly as we wanted it to. I think Patrick Queen offers a chance for all of us to recognize that young players, even older players for real, are more capable than we want to admit, depending on the situation, depending on the environment, depending on who's around them. Those first-round picks will be judged harshly, for sure, because they have a fifth-year option that makes them of tremendous importance. And that's why it's one of the reasons why fans react so harshly at times. Oweh and Bateman would be the next in line for that decision. And you can debate amongst yourself, what you think is going to happen with those guys. But I'm talking about even more than that. For example, the signing of Nelson Aguilar last year, and how some of us as Ravens fans kind of blew up in anger about it, and then it blew up in our face because he performed well in 2023. He had a touchdown catch on the road against the Bengals in Week 2. Those types of plays, and Lamar trusted him on third down as well. Also, when the Ravens brought in Jadeveon Clowney, he's a run stopper. We still don't have a guy to rush the passer, and then all he does is turn it around on us, turn it on its head, and register career-high sacks or match his career high in sacks, which I think is 9.5. Even to a lesser extent, the drafting of Kyle Hamilton as a safety in round 1. There was this rush to judgment in his first training camp about what he was. He's a box safety, whatever the heck that even is. Can apply it to Tyler Linderbaum as well. I think Queen has shown us that players can improve on so many small things at a time that when you combine them with their natural talent, they can become a critical or crucial part of a great team. And in this case, for the Ravens, it was a historic defense in 2023. For the most part, I think we're often flat out off base when it comes to judging a player's ability in their rookie year versus what it could be 2 or 3 or 4 years later. And those guys, Queen, Hamilton, Linderbaum, Oweh, and Bateman, to various degrees, they've got higher expectation levels. They should. They're the Ravens' first-round pick since 2020. It's a pretty good group, by the way. But I think what's wrong-headed or maybe disingenuous at times is attempting to say that they've only improved because of the presence of one other player or only improved because of the presence of one coach, Mike McDonald. Yes, the surrounding talent, the coaching, your teammates matter. The scheme, Patrick Queen's unselfishness to me is what shows up on film, along with his tremendous athletic ability. And I think it's what's going to make him a really hot commodity in the NFL in March. He turns 25 years old, first of all. He'll turn 25 years old, in training camp this year. Perhaps that is a reason to say, hey, maybe we should have picked up his fifth-year option. I'm fine if people want to say that. I can't say that now, to be honest with you, because we made our decision. It would have been a $12 million cap hit, I believe. And I think at this point, there's only 10 inside linebackers that even make more than $10 million a year. And we already have one of them, in Roquan Smith, at $20 million. So I'm not sure that the cap hit at 12 would have been, we could have justified that or even made it work with $30 million for $20 million for Roquan and 12 for Queen. You're talking $32 million just for 2024. But look, multiple teams are going to watch the film and say he's 25 years old, or he'll be 25 in August, and not just see the talent, the speed, and the improved coverage ability. But look, we did still have some difficulty at times. The Bengals targeted him to the boundary at least twice in our home win over them late in the season, particularly tight ends. Tight end beat him on an out and up, wheel route, if you will, whatever, conceptually same thing. Touchdown on a third down to Zach Moss of the Colts. At home on a third and long, think 3rd and 16. We can debate the salary number and whether we should have matched it or not. The larger point for me is that I'm trying to make is how we discuss football players, particularly young guys, is wrong. It's actually borderline juvenile in some ways. We're following the media's charge. I almost put a picture up here of something I read last May when the Ravens decided not to match when the Ravens declined his fifth-year option. It was WBAL, a short article that explained the Ravens are not going to extend him at the $12 million a year figure. And then the third or fourth paragraph down basically explained that Queen's play improved once Roquan showed up, almost justifying that decision. So when I say that the media leads the way, that's what I mean, is these narratives become the truth because we accept them at face value without watching the film ourselves or listening or watching someone who can interpret it properly for us. I think the right environment for Patrick Queen is in Baltimore. I would love to see him be there, but unfortunately that's probably not going to happen. He's going to get a salary offer somewhere in the $10 to $12 million range, but it may be for a shorter duration than the Ravens would sign him for. My suspicion is the Ravens would sign him for a longer period of time if we did have the money, 3 or 4 years. Other teams are probably going to give if they do go 10, 12 million, are going to go a 2-year time period. I do think that his time here was unique from the standpoint that it overlapped with Lamar after Lamar had already won an MVP in 2019. Queen's drafted the following year, 3 months later, after we lose to the Titans. And then the expectations are really high. And for a time, he did not live up to our ideals about what a first-round inside linebacker should be able to do. He finally has, in my opinion. The season he put together in 2023 had a lot of depth and breadth. He made things happen for himself and others. That's why I tried to show you the film of him running the pick for Matabike against the Seahawks at home in Week 9. No one's better at that. In the entire league, no one's better at that than Patrick Queen right now. I'm talking about picking a lineman, taking the running back with you who's responsible for the linebacker so that the D tackle can loop underneath and have a free lane to the quarterback. And in some cases, it's another inside linebacker, Roquan Smith. It's a skill in and of itself. I think he's mastered it, and he's improved in so many other areas. So much so in terms of coverage that, look, in 2023, there's a lot of times where teams line up on offense, and they know we're playing man to the boundary, where Queen and Stevens are, or Queen and Humphrey, or Queen and Darby. And we're not scared. As a coaching staff, I'm talking about the Ravens are not scared. Hey, we're playing man over there. Come on over. Was there times where he got beat? Sure. But for the most part, Patrick Queen's play over 2023 is represented by his accolades. Pro Bowl honor, which he just went to this weekend with a number of other Ravens, unfortunately, and a second-team AP All-Pro designation I think was well-deserved. You guys let me know if you think the film that I chose to show of the various parts of Patrick Queen's career were good examples of how he played, what he was able to do in his rookie year, and then moving forward as we developed into 2022 and 2023 under Mike McDonald. One of my favorite Ravens stories. Glad to have been able to watch him. Wish that we could bring him back in 5 weeks. I think the market is going to dictate that, and can't blame Patrick Queen at all. I hope he gets as much money as possible. Wish that it could be in Baltimore. Appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you think other Ravens fans would appreciate or enjoy this probably too soon still look at Patrick Queen's career here in Baltimore over the last 4 years, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media so other Ravens fans can enjoy it as well.